So many of us are looking for love online every single day. But behind all those profiles and promises, there's something really dangerous growing. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on romance scams, a type of crime that doesn't just empty your bank account, it can absolutely shatter your life. Just let that sink in for a moment. That one sentence from a survivor, Cecily Fjellhoy, it just gets right to the heart of the trauma, doesn't it? See, this isn't really about losing money. It's about a deep, profound violation of trust, a kind of psychological heist where you realize the love you felt, the person you fell for, was never even real. And if you think this is a small problem, look at this number. $1.3 billion. That's how much money the Federal Trade Commission says was lost to romance scams just in the United States and just in 2022. This is not some niche crime. It's a massive, global criminal industry that's literally built on heartbreak. So, to really understand the human cost behind a number that big, let's zoom in on one person's story. You might actually recognize the name Cecily Fjellhoy from the documentary The Tinder Swindler. Her story is, well, it's a perfect and perfectly terrifying case study of how these scams actually work.
The speed of it all is just dizzying. It started with a simple coffee date that somehow turned into a ride on a private jet. Within just 1 month, the man she thought was Simon Leviev started telling her his enemies were after him, that he couldn't use his own credit cards for, safety. And in only 54 days, she was in debt for over $250,000.
And here's what's so crucial to understand. The nightmare didn't stop when the money was gone. Not even close. Cecilia had to deal with 9 different loans, court cases from 4 banks, bankruptcy. She was even investigated by the police. Scammers are masters at manipulating their victims into doing things that look illegal, leaving them to face the music while they just disappear.
Now, it's easy to think of Cecily's story as the work of one really charismatic con artist. But the truth is, it's so much bigger than that. These scams are often run by incredibly sophisticated global criminal organizations, and they have a playbook that is terrifyingly effective.
One of the most popular and devious techniques they use today has this really brutal name, pig butchering. And the name is harsh for a reason. The method is just as cruel. The scammers, or farmers, will groom their targets, the pigs, for weeks, sometimes months. They build this deep trust and emotional connection before they pivot and convince them to invest in bogus cryptocurrency schemes.
It's really a chillingly simple 3-step process. First, you build the relationship. We're talking hours of calls, texts, FaceTimes every day. Second, you casually bring up some amazing can't-miss investment opportunity that's making you rich. And third, once the victim's money is in the fake platform, you just keep inventing reasons for them to deposit more and more right before you vanish.
Okay, but here's where the story takes an even darker turn. The people on the other end of the phone? A lot of them are victims too. Many are actually human trafficking victims, lured to scam centers in places like Myanmar with fake job offers, and then forced into modern-day slavery. It's gotten so bad that Interpol now considers this a global security threat.
So, who exactly is falling for these scams? The answer might actually surprise you. It's become a silent epidemic, really, and it's fueled by the intense shame victims feel and all the harmful stereotypes that are out there.
All right, let's just bust some myths right now. The stereotype is always some lonely, naive older woman. But the reality? Anyone looking for a connection is a potential target. This isn't about being foolish or greedy. It's about being a trusting, caring person. And this is so important. This is not a woman's problem. It is a 50-50 gendered crime. Men are just far less likely to ever report it.
So why don't we hear about this more often? Well, the number one reason this crime thrives in the shadows is just pure, crushing shame. Victims blame themselves. They're terrified of being judged by friends, by family, even by the police. The manipulation is so powerful it makes them question their own sanity. And honestly, there's a real lack of support systems that are trained to handle this very specific kind of trauma.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the problem, but just understanding it is only the first step. Let's shift gears and talk about solutions. How can you actually protect yourself and maybe help others in what's becoming a pretty deceptive online world?
So, let's get practical. What are the real steps you can take to keep your heart and, your bank account safe?
All right, here are the big red flags you absolutely need to watch out for. Their profile seems a little too perfect. They're always traveling for work and can never, ever seem to meet in person. Their life is basically a soap opera, just one emergency after another. They love bomb you, just overwhelming you with affection super early. And of course, the biggest red flag of all, they ask for money. Any money, for any reason. Oh, and here's a pro tip. Use Google's reverse image search on their profile pictures. You might be surprised where they pop up.
But you know, it's not just about looking for red flags. There's also a green flag you should pay attention to, and that's your gut. Trust your intuition. If something just feels off, it probably is. And maybe the most important thing you can do is fight the isolation that these scammers rely on. Talk to your friends, talk to your family about this new person. An outside perspective can see things you're just too emotionally invested to notice.
But what if it's already too late? What if you or someone you really care about has already fallen for a scam? Where do you even start to pick up the pieces?
Okay, the very first step, and this is maybe the hardest one, is to call this what it is: abuse. This is not your fault. Then, reach out for support. Talk to friends, family, a therapist, and seriously consider finding a peer support group. There is nothing more powerful for healing than connecting with other people who know exactly what you've been through.
And that brings us back to this really powerful idea from Cecily. Scammers don't exploit a person's weakness, they exploit their strength. They go after your empathy, your kindness, your basic human desire to trust and connect. These aren't character flaws, they're the best parts of us, just twisted and weaponized against us.
Which really leaves us with this one big, kind of scary question for the future. I mean, with technology like AI and deepfakes making it easier and easier to create fake profiles, fake photos, even fake videos, how are we ever going to know for sure who's real and who isn't? The fight for trust online? Well, it's really only just beginning.